Welcome, everyone. This time I would love to call the meeting for May the 1st to order, and we have one absentee this evening. Councillor Bjorkman sends his regrets, kind of a medical issue, and everyone else is here, so welcome, and just looking for declaration of conflicts of interest amongst the council members. No, that's always good. Looking for the adoption of the regular agenda for May the 1st. Deputy Mayor Melange, Councillor Vokes, any additions, questions, whatever. Councillor Vokes?
Yeah, I just want to go on record and make it clear that the minutes show I left the meeting. Last council meeting, I didn't leave the meeting at all. So I just want to go on record with that.
I think in the report I read, it said you left and within 5 minutes you were back again, so.
Yeah, but I never actually left.
Yep, okay, good, thanks. Anything else? Councillor Bondi?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In some agenda confusion, I was not able to get a council discussion on the Clark Street extension on the agenda. So you have suggested that I do a notice of motion. So I can add the notice of motion later, but I really don't have a motion. I really just want to have a discussion with council. So I don't know how I'm going to get the business done of the town when I can't have a discussion with council. I don't want to wait 2 more weeks. That puts us at May 15th. So I'm just looking for your advice, Mr. Mayor, on how we can best go about this.
Okay, excuse me. Councillor Snively and Councillor Vokes, first of all.
Through you, your worship, and to council, I do know the situation there, and I do know how urgent it is for the Sellects to get onto this road. Okay, and I understand that they are willing to put up a retainer, and I would like to have discussion tonight on it, if we can. Short discussion, 5 minutes. I think it's a situation that's got to be resolved, and we've been putting it off, and not really putting it off, but I think we should have a 5-minute discussion on it and see if we can come to some kind of resolution here on that situation. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, sir. Councillor Vokes.
Thank you, worship. Our guidelines suggest that when topics for discussion at council meetings are put forward in review, they're deemed to be urgent or non-urgent. And when you have a multi-million-dollar company trying to get its roots in the ground and trying to get up and running, I think that's about as urgent as you can get. And I think I agree with Councillor Bondi, and I agree with the particular company that's trying to get rolling. We need to talk about it, and we need to talk about it. And we need to talk about it this evening. It's not something that should be discarded. The clock's ticking for them on a multi-million-dollar facility, and it's like, well, whatever. I agree with Councillor Bondi. The sooner the better, and the sooner being tonight.
Anyone else like to talk on this subject before I get it? Deputy Mayor Melange.
I'll just say that I agree too. I'd like to just have a conversation about it, just to see what the scoop is on it. And I know that Selects are interested in using the road. I know the road is blocked. I know that we're not going to take possession supposedly till September. And what I don't understand, and I haven't asked the question, but I maybe could get an answer tonight, is how are we supposed to know that the road is going to be good when we get it in September if it's not being used? And if it's not going to be, then why not take it over now if it's not going to get used anyway until, I mean, in other times where we have subdivisions, the roads actually get used before we take them over so that we know whether they're going to stand up to the test of traffic. But this one here, it's just blocked off. I don't understand why we don't have traffic going up and down. So I just want some answers on this, and maybe simple answers, but just to have a simple discussion on it. Thanks.
Anyone else? I'm going to put the nail in the coffin. And go ahead.
That's all, just a point of information. We've had 4 councillors tonight say that they want to have a discussion about it. So I would hope that the discussion can take place.
Okay. Now, I wish you would put it under announcements, if that's all you want to do. There is room later on. I got the floor.
Yeah, we might need a
So-
report.
Okay. Now, I know how urgent this is. We've heard from administration how many times. To you people out in the public, out there at home, number 1 owns a road. Number 2 wants to use it. Number 1 won't allow number 2 to use it unless he puts money up in case he damages it. Number 2 says, I'm not going to put any money up. I want to use your road. You're not going to use my road. I'll pay you if I damage it. Number 1 says, I don't trust you. I want the money up front. Number 2 says, you're not getting it. So we put that to bed, okay? I was part of this meeting. Now I hear a council member saying, number 2 is willing to put the money up. Gee, I wish he would call our CAO or the mayor or that department over there, Mr. Nepsey, and inform the municipality. Man, oh man, I know how urgent this is, and it's not a minor. We, as a board, 7 of us, not 4, 7 of us decided it has to be a minor in nature. I got the 5 criterias for urgent. We've read them before. Maybe one of the 5 might be a little bit under that urgent thing. Under the minor, none of these things work. So are we going to follow our rules once again? This is what really upsets me. And I'm sorry I'm getting upset. I'm not supposed to. But I get upset when we make rules and then we don't want to follow them because of whoever it is or whyever it is. We've got this rule here. My job is to say no right now. And I'm going to say no. Now, if you people say, Mr. Chair, we're going to do something to you, so be it. But I'm not a part of anything that breaks rules that we, this town council, has set out in front of all of us. And I'm getting worked up. I'm sorry. Just one of the little things. Now, I'm not going to read. There's 8 things here, and it doesn't work. We've discussed this. We discussed it last Saturday morning with administration and myself. It's not happening. It's not. And boy, we keep trying. We keep trying. When is Tout going to let up? I'll never let up if we break the rules. I don't care. We did once in my term, and I made it publicized.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Okay, point of order and speaking my mind.
April 24th, which
Yes.
was a Monday, at 8:53 a.m. Hi, Robert and Tracy. After more deliberation, I would please request that the Clark Street Extension Road be placed on the next agenda item for council discussion. That met the deadline. That was Monday, April 24th. I met the agenda deadline, and I wasn't allowed to put it on the agenda. And if I'm not allowed to put it on the agenda, I'm going to CBC and saying that this councillor cannot bring up a council discussion with her council, even though 4 council members have said that it's okay, that they want to talk about it.
Young lady, if you're challenging me, go for it, because I'll be on the radio right behind you.
Well, I have proof is in the pudding. Proof is in what
Yep, proof's in the pudding. How many times have you put something on the table and withdrawn it? That's why we're in this predicament right now. We would have talked about it probably last meeting or this meeting if you hadn't withdrawn. So don't be trying to corner me, because I won't stand for it. Now, I'm going to refuse this because of this. If you don't like it, do something about it. I don't know what you can do about it. You might ask administration if the mayor is wrong, and I know I'm not wrong, but you can overrule the mayor, there's no doubt about it. I can put it to a vote, but I'm not going to do that because you're breaking our laws. So I'm not going to put it to a vote to you people. If you would like to talk about this at the end of the meeting, which number? Where is it? New business? No. Reports from council members. You want to put a report in on this? It's allowed. Like, everybody gets 5 minutes here, so if you would like to do that, you can do that. But Okay.
So, Your Worship, the only, that new agenda item, reports from council members, that's designed just as an informational item, 5 minutes, but there's not supposed to be any debate, any action items, and so if there's a potential for action items coming from that, it really wasn't designed for that portion of the agenda. Once again, procedurally at least, it could go on as a notice of motion or accepted as potentially by the chair as new business.
No, but under reports from council members,
Right.
would not Councillor Snively be able to say what he has to share with us?
Speaking
I
to the
think
chair,
that's what it's about.
the councillor could speak on that item, but it's not debatable.
Right.
Once again, that 5-minute limit, and no action items could, no resolutions could resolve from that.
Okay. Now, with regards to Councillor Bondi wanting to make some kind of a statement, but she wants a decision made tonight, I believe. Councillor Bondi?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like council to have discussion about it, and because it's non-debatable and no action items, then the council announcement section is really useless for me.
We're going to go around the board. I have Councillor Vokes, Councillor Kexer, and Councillor Snively. Go ahead, Councillor Vokes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Look at, we all know, I want to go on record and say each individual councillor here, under his own position and his own want, his own will, understands the position they're in. And if for whatever reason, administration and the mayor decide it's not to be spoke to tonight, based on those rules, even though I don't agree with it, and I don't agree with it, and I don't think what's happening to Councillor Bondi's fair, then I've heard, nobody's heard more than this guy, rules are rules. And I've heard it many a time. So I'm hoping you exercise the right tonight of rules are rules and respect what the mayor's saying. But remember, he's bearing the sword of the responsibility of it because he's not allowing anybody to speak to it. Just remember that. Thank you.
Okay. I have Councillor Kexer and Councillor Snively.
Through Your Worship, so the item was asked to be put on the agenda under new business, but I don't think it should have been put on the agenda under new business, because it's not new business. It's old business. And I'd like to know what the rules are surrounding what can be discussed under old business, because I don't believe the same rules apply. So I don't think we're breaking any rules. I think we were just trying to put it in part of the agenda that it shouldn't be under. It should be under old business because it's been something that's been discussed already. It's not new. This has been ongoing for quite a while.
Could be right. Do we have anyone from administration with a recommendation, comment?
You want me to? So,
Roger?
through Your Worship, administration did talk about that scenario about being unfinished business, but procedurally, when the notice of motion was withdrawn, it was taken off the record, and so that's why when we were trying to decide how to treat this, the thought was that it would need to be brought on again onto the agenda.
Councillor Kexer.
So, to respond to that, I think though, let's not confuse the situation. The motion maybe would have, or the notice of motion maybe would have been new business, but the situation itself, what's being discussed is not new business. It's something that we've already had discussion on. We've heard from administration. We know what administration's stance is from the Department of Infrastructure. I think there's some other information that's come to light, and I think council wants to have, and I'm also, I didn't put my hand up, I didn't say anything, but I'm of the same opinion. I think it wouldn't hurt to have some discussion on that whole situation. We just had a favorable ruling with regards to the hydro, but the hydro is only one part of the parcel there for that business. The road is the other part, and the hydro was kind of holding up the road also. So, Anyway, that's my comments.
Councillor Snively?
Yeah, through your worship, I think it should be brought up under old business. And as far as yourself, your worship, saying I had new information, I got that from Councillor Bondi. So I just got that before the meeting, so that come to light. But this is a situation, this is a multi-million-dollar business, okay, and this has been going on for so long, this particular situation. I think this is, we should have discussion on it tonight. And as far as I'm concerned, right or wrong, I think we should have resolution on this issue tonight. I really do. I truly believe it. It's a business that we're holding them up, I think, with this road. I really do. But I might be wrong. I'll have Chris talk about it when the time comes, but I think this is a road that should be open. And you're right when you say one doesn't get along with the other. I understand that, your worship. But this is a situation that they're almost ready to bring in big equipment, and we need that road opened, plain and simple.
I know, we all need it open, and you would think Howard would realize he needs it open, because it's his business. He keeps saying, I need it open. Well, do what you have to do. You know, like that's what gets me. What I can't see is how we, as 7-member council, are going to tell a road owner that he's going to let everybody or anybody use his road. How can we do that? Now, I am going to say, yes, we will discuss this, only because of the comment you made saying Mr. Selleck is going to put up the money. Now, you say it wasn't you, you say it's Councillor Bondi. That's why we're going to discuss this, because I wouldn't want us telling the other party, you're going to allow this man to use your road. We can't do that. And I don't need to hear from Chris, because I know Mr. Nepsy's feelings and everybody else's. So, who was it? Councillor Bondi wanted some new business, right? Discuss. So I'm saying yes, because I think we got some information that we're not going to break any rules to get something done here. Do we all know this? Of course we do. I don't think the guy that's trying to get onto the road realizes it, though.
Item 5 on the agenda, adoption of minutes.
Oh, yes, you're right. Go ahead.
Did we?
We got to get.
No, we got to pass the resolution for. I don't think we have a mover and seconder on adoption.
Oh,
We need
okay.
to adopt
That this be presented. Oh, for the first one.
the published agenda.
The post agenda.
Yep.
On the post agenda, all in favor? Motion carries.
Sorry, Your Worship. Item 5, adoption of minutes. Minutes from the regular council meeting, April 18th, 2017.
Councillor Snively, Councillor Caicedo, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Four again. Cynthia, is that on later? Okay.
Item 8 on the agenda, reports from administration. 8.1, corporate services report 2017-08. Re 2017 municipal property tax rates, that said report be received, and that the 2017 general municipal tax rate be increased by 3.11% to compensate for the reduction in the tax rate from school boards, with the additional monies raised in the amount of $96,327 to be set aside for asset management, and that bylaw 1604 to amend bylaw 1595, which adopted the 2017 operating capital budget, be read a first, second, and third time this evening.
Moved by Councillor Caicedo, Deputy Mayor Milosh supports. Any questions? Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that the 96,000 will help offset our asset management plan that we're going to implement in 2018. I don't think, I'm not completely sold that we shouldn't still go ahead with the 2% levy in 2018 and then use this in addition. But I think that that can be discussed at a later time. But I think that this was a good move, pulling even more out, because I think asset management's really important.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.2, community services 2017-011, that said report be received and that council approves the 25th Annual Colchester Walleye Derby for significant event status.
Moved by Councilor Bonnie, supported by Councilor Snively. I think you shook his head, didn't you? Yeah. Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.3, Community Services, 2017-012, that said report be received and that council approves the 30th Essex Fun Fest for significant event status.
Moved by Councilor Bonnie, supported by Councilor Vokes. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.4, Community Services, 2017-013, that said report be received and that council approves the 6th Annual McGregor Mug Run and International Beer Fest, once again for significant event status.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Melange, supported by Councilor Snively. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.5, Community Services, 2017-014, that said report be received and that council proclaims June as Recreation and Parks Month in the town of Essex.
Moved by Councilor Vokes, supported by Councilor Caxero. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.6 is Community Services 2017-015, Life Saving Society Affiliate Recognition Awards. The reports for receipt, and I believe our Manager of Recreation and Culture has a presentation.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cakebird.
Just for receipt.
Through you, sir, it's just really exciting that we were able to win the cup again, I guess. So,
Well, you're going to make a presentation.
Well.
Someone is.
I'll just add on, I think it's exciting because this isn't our first time, it's ninth time out of 16 years we've been in operation. So I think that's pretty amazing for our population between 10,000 and 50,000. So again, it's Cynthia, her team, Sarah's obviously in the audience that oversees the aquatic program. So it's a great accomplishment. For this year, we're kind of looked at it like the New England Patriots. We're the ones that everybody's gunning for. So I'm glad to see that we're still there, and we'll keep going for that, stay on top. So if we can get a photo opportunity, I think it'd be great, because this is a council initiative, not just
Okay.
our staff. So.
So we'll get all council up there then. How was that? Come on, council. Now, Community Services Report, Life Saving Society, looking for a mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Melange and Councilor Snively. All in favor? Motion carries.
8.7, Community Services, 2017-016. That said report entitled Program Updates, Recreation and Culture be received.
Moved by Councilor Caxero, supported by Councilor Bondi. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.8, On the agenda, Infrastructure and Development, 2017-01, that said report entitled Results of Request for Quotation Hot Water Pressure Washer be received, and that Council supports the deletion of project 170040 and appropriate the approved capital funds towards the purchase of this subject hot water pressure washer from Hotsey Cleaning Systems in the amount of 965702, including all applicable taxes.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? On favor? Motion, one more, we need one more. Motion carries.
8.9 on the agenda is Infrastructure and Development, 2017-02. Results of request for tender, supply and application of maintenance stone for 2017. That said report be received and that the request for tender be awarded to Southwestern Sales Corporation Limited in the amount of not more than $150,000, including applicable taxes.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Melange, supported by Councillor Bondi. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 8.10 on the agenda is Infrastructure and Development, Report 2017-03, results of request for tender, Third Concession Road rehabilitation, and surface treatment rehabilitation, both for 2017. That said report be received and that the tender for the surface treatment rehabilitation be awarded to Shepley Road Maintenance Limited, and that council utilize surplus funds from the surface treatment 2017 works towards capital project 170009 and award the request for the tender of the Third Concession Road to Norjon Contracting and Paving Limited.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Caxero. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.11 is Planning Report 2017-19. That said report be received, part lot control exemption for Part Block B, Plan 1243, and part of lots 2 to 4 inclusive, Part Block B and Part Erie Street, all on Plan 1243. The said report be received, and that bylaw 1603 to provide that part lot control shall not apply to those identified lands be ready first, second, third time, and finally passed this first day of May.
Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.12 is Planning Report 2017-20, Official Plan Amendment 6. That said planning report be received, and that bylaw 1597, being a bylaw that adopts Official Plan Amendment 6 to the Town of Essex Official Plan, be ready first and second time and be provisionally adopted this evening.
Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Snively. Questions? Deputy Mayor Melange.
Thank you, through your worship, to Mr. Watson, our policy planner. Mr. Watson, is this the part that that talks about land severances and acreage required for severances?
Through Mr. Mayor, no, it's not. That's a specific set of policies that are being dealt with by the county right now. So our official plan is basically addressing other policy issues which aren't related to that.
Very good, thank you.
Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.13 is Planning Report 2017-21, County of Essex Agricultural Lot Size Study. That said report be received and that direction be given to the clerk to convey to the manager of planning services for the county council's response to the recommendations of the agricultural farm lot study.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Caxero. Any questions? Deputy Mayor Melange.
Thank you, through your worship, to Mr. Watson, our policy planner. So this one here would be the one that I was thinking that we were at. So in regard to our severances, what is it that we're recommending? Can just give us a synopsis on what you're telling us here in this report?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not recommending anything at this point. What happened was that over probably the last decade, there's been an issue about farm lot sizes, what's appropriate for different kinds of crops, what's appropriate for each municipality, and there's never been a consensus on that. So the county official plan, which binds our official plan, basically says that all policies regarding farm lot size and farm lot severances, whatever the local community has today, is frozen until the county changes its policies. So, and the county has no policies at this point. They're basically going through the exercise right now to try to establish what the policy should be. We're all bound by what's called the provincial policy statement, the PPS, and we're bound by the county OP. And I said the county OP really doesn't have any policies in it. They've simply frozen what we have today. So the PPS speaks to the question of farm lot size and farm lot severance. And it basically is trying to address the protection of agricultural land. So it's very strict as to what can be done in terms of lot severances and the provision of farm operations. And it says that if the Committee of Adjustment is considering a farm split, it has to look at what size of lot is appropriate for the type of agricultural uses common to the area and what's sufficient to maintain a viable farm operation. Now, it doesn't specify a size. So it defers to the Ministry of Agriculture, MAFRA, who says that for this area, 100 acres is the recommended minimum farm lot size. So and you know, they cite quite a few reasons, and some of them are specified in my report. The county then hired a consultant, and the consultant has been reviewing this for the last few months. They've looked in quite detail at what's going on out there in terms of farm operations and farm sizes. And they've made a specific recommendation to County Council, and that went to County Council the last meeting. And the recommendation was that farm lot sizes be as existing as far as the minimum is concerned. So what's out there is the minimum farm lot size. If a farmer, for example, wants to split his lands, his farmlands, he has to have a minimum of 200 acres, and that he can only split it into two 100-acre parcels. If it's anything less than that, they can't go to the Committee of Adjustment. The farmer would have to apply to the county and to the local municipality for an official plan amendment. And that amendment would go to the Manager of Planning Services for the county. It would be circulated to the province, including OMAFRA for comment, and a decision would be made. So that was the recommendation that the Manager of Planning Services presented to County Council, and County Council deferred it. And what they wanted to hear was the opinion of the various municipal councils. So in other words, they want to hear your opinion as to whether that's a good idea or not, and if it's not a good idea, what the local municipality recommend to County Council for consideration.
So my thoughts on this is that if we don't we're not necessarily giving our comment back. We're just saying nothing. So we had a discussion about it, I don't think it was last town council meeting, but perhaps the one before. And the consensus, I believe, from our council here was that we would like to see smaller lot sizes. We would like to see 100 acres at minimum be able to split into 250s. So I think it's appropriate if a majority of council had that opinion that we would send that message back to County Council. And I'm not sure if we're doing this in this report. So your comments on that, maybe you think that we are, or maybe there's something else that goes along with it that's going to explain that. The other thing too is you had talked about there are alternative methods to getting lots that are smaller than a 200-acre farm being split into two 100s, but at what cost? Because once you talk about going to fight the official plan and having a change to the official plan, there are several costs that are attached to that, going to the OMB and going to the province and going to the county and so on. And it's quite time-consuming and iffy at best if you're going to be able to get the severance. So what I would like to see as a councillor, and I think what the majority of this council would like to see, is that it be in our official plan that if you have 100 acres, you're allowed to split to 250s, regardless of what the province is telling us. That's what we would like to see. So somehow we want to see that put into our plan. And I know that the county's the one that actually decides, but they're looking for input, I believe, from each of the communities to let them know what we're thinking, and I don't really see that here. So, but if it's there, please let me know.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, you're correct. I mean, the county council is looking for the recommendations of the local municipalities, municipal councils. So they're looking for your recommendation. Whatever the county adopts, we have to follow that. So if you're not successful at the county level, you can't have what you want at the local level. So, and this is why the county council deferred it, because I think they realized that this was not the position that local councils were prepared to adopt. And therefore, the question then is, if you don't like what the consultant has recommended, which, as I said, is a minimum split of 100 acres and an official plan amendment going through the county for approval if it's less than 100 acres before they can make an application to the Committee of Adjustment. That's what the consultant has recommended. I don't personally agree with that, and it's obviously, as you say, Deputy Mayor Malash, you don't agree with it either. So the question then is what would you like to convey to County Council as Council's position on the matter?
Thank you, through your worship, to Mr. Watson. So I don't know if we need to go back and or if I need to make a motion on this motion. Okay, so I'll make a motion, or unless others want to speak on it first. Before I make the motion, I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to speak if they want to before I make a motion. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, I agree 100% with the deputy mayor here, 100%. But the situation, okay, I want to ask you, Jeff, on the situation, let's say you're out along the waterfront, and you know we have all the wineries there, and let's say there's a parcel of 50 acres, 50-acre parcel, and the farmer wants to split 20 acres for a specialty farm, grapes for a winery. Is this going to be allowed or not?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Well, if the county consultant's recommendations are adopted by county council, the answer is likely no. Where we differ, I mean, first of all, the town's policy is not what the consultant has recommended. The town's policy is the minimum lot size is 100 acres or as existing. So if it's 5 acres or 50 acres or whatever, that's the minimum lot size. It also does not say prohibit going to the Committee of Adjustment, and this was my concern with the consultant. I personally would like to see the minimum lot sizes as existing. I don't have a problem with that personally, going over all that the consultant has discovered and concluded. Where I have a problem is having to force a farmer to go for an official plan amendment. Basically I've advised the county that my position is minimum lot size is existing, but also respect the powers of committees of adjustment. They are sanctioned by the province to deal with farm lot splits amongst everything else. And they have an obligation to look at as to whether this is a good beneficial for the farmer and for the community. And don't take that power away. And don't muddy it up with requiring that they go for an official plan amendment. I'm also asking OMAFRA to come to the table, because to this point OMAFRA has said that 100 acres is the recommended minimum. But they haven't said why. They do justify why large farms are important to have, okay? But they don't say why it has to be 100 acres or 50 acres or 25 acres. And I think that's one of the things that bothers me, is that we keep playing with numbers that have no relevance to what's actually out there. And but at the same time, I respect the powers of the Committee of Adjustment to look at individual situations and to make decisions on the basis of what's appropriate. The question then is how do we determine what's appropriate? And that's where I call OMAFRA to task, because I think the obligation is on them to provide us with more guidelines and better details to make a rational and positive decision for the benefit of the community.
Further to that, to Jeff, yeah, we all know we have specialty farms. So what do we do with the greenhouse operations? You know what I'm saying? You know, greenhouse operation could be on 10 acres. So this is an issue where the government, I think, has got to back down a little bit. This is a situation where we have to voice our opinion and fight this, because if this gets approved, we're going to be in trouble along the waterfront, all the way along there. We won't have wineries open. You're not going to have somebody buy 100 acres and put 100 acres of grapes in. That's not going to happen. So, thank you.
Councilor Cactero?
Through you, just before Deputy Mayor Malash makes another motion, just a reminder that we have a motion to receive this report on the floor, so we should vote on that first. I'm of the same opinion. I think a 50-acre minimum lot size is appropriate for our area, so being able to split a 100-acre farm into two, I think would be something that I would agree with. I also do think that we do have to have some consideration for specialty farms. I don't know if there's somewhere that will allow committee of adjustments to be able to allow for creating smaller sizes for specialty. If there isn't, then I think that should be voiced also in whatever the motion is. And at least that way there we've been heard. And I agree that it shouldn't be an official plan amendment, that we should leave whatever they decide to use as the minimum, that then the Committee of Adjustments should have the latitude to make those decisions if there's going to be something less than that.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. What I would suggest then, I'd like to have a motion that reads...
No, we got to read.
A motion on the floor.
Oh, sorry.
If you're ready for that one, I'll call the question here. All in favor of the report here? We have. Motion carries. Deputy Mayor Malash, sorry.
Okay, so in view of the fact that it sounds like council is in agreement that we make it smaller splits, so I'll make a motion that the town of Essex is recommending to the county that we are allowed to have splits on parcels of land that are 100 acres or more, to be allowed to split into 250s,
But don't forget the specialty farms.
with special allocations in cases where there's a good case for, and I believe that we already have this part of it, but we'll put it in writing in a motion, a good case for viability of a farm that's smaller than 50 acres.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded by Councilor Snively. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Thank you for that, sir. Mayor Malash.
Mr. Watson, so will that motion be attached to the recommendation that we send back to the county?
Through Mr. Mayor, yeah, I have not made a recommendation in the report because basically county council wants to hear from you, and they've already heard from me. So basically you're relaying then the position that you would like county council to consider to put into the county official plan so that we can reflect that in our own official plan. Now, I do want to note, though, that I can't agree with that should such an application be appealed or a resolution be appealed. I just want to have that on record. But I understand.
Okay, thank you. So we should be sending the letter ourselves, is what you're suggesting?
Through Your Worship, I believe through the clerk's office, we can convey that.
Perfect. Thanks, Mr. Auger.
Thank you very much.
Item 8.14 is Community Services Report 2017-006, re Harrell Health Center, McGregor Satellite Office lease renewal, that said report be received, and that council approves a renewal agreement with the Harrell Health Center to lease and operate the medical offices located at the McGregor Community Center for an additional 5 years, subject to the general terms and conditions outlined in bylaw 1605, which bylaw will be considered for first and second reading this evening under agenda item 18 this evening.
Moved by Councilor Bundy, supported by Councilor Vokes. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Our youth councilor member reports that she has no reports this evening, so Just moving on, any updates from County Council?
Nothing that I have to report, just I want to let everybody know that at this coming county council meeting on Wednesday night, we'll be talking about the redistribution of the legacy federal gas tax funds and what proportions that the county is going to be giving back to each municipality here in the county of Essex.
Thank you, sir.
Item 11 on the agenda, correspondence, 11.1, that the correspondence listed in agenda item 11.1 be received and where indicated to further share such information with the community.
Moved by Councilor Caxero, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
11.2, correspondence to be considered for receipt and support. 11.2.1, that the correspondence asking that in recognition of Canada's 150th birthday, the federal and provincial governments waive the taxes payable on the purchase of Canadian flag or Canada 150 anniversary flag for the year 2017 be received and supported, and if supported, a letter of support be sent accordingly.
Councilor Caxero. Receipt? And support? Okay. Supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
11.2.2, that the correspondence from Joseph Lucas offering to sit as a member of the Heritage Committee be received, and that Council appoints Mr. Lucas as a member of the committee for the term ending November 30th, 2018, and that Schedule A to Bylaw 1376 be updated accordingly.
Moved by Councilor Bonnie, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Questions? Councilor Caxero.
Sorry, through you, not pertaining to 11.2.2, but pertaining to all of correspondence just to be received. Did I just miss us receiving all those, or I did?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
yeah, we received.
My apologies then.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? All in favor? Motion carries.
11.2.3, that the correspondence from the town of Tecumseh to the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness regarding concerns on the necessity of carrying a Nexus card or CAN pass if leaving and crossing back into Canadian waters without landing be received, and if council supports the town of Tecumseh's concerns, a letter of support be sent.
Move. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Receive and support.
Okay, supported by Councilor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 12, committee meeting minutes, that the meeting minutes listed in agenda item 12 be received and adopted as presented.
Councilor Wilkes moves, supported by Councilor Caxero. Councilor Wilkes.
Your worship, did the Accessible Advisory Committee ever look into that parking spot in front of the dollar store where the only option you have is to back up in the actual into the crosswalk in order to pull out of the parking spot? That's where I almost seen that person hit in the wheelchair.
Mr. Nepsey.
Through your worship, I believe that spot's been removed and pushed forward so that you can't park. It's been pushed up that way.
I never noticed that.
But I'll confirm tomorrow and respond back to council.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
We already have a motion. I did. Yeah, I did.
Agenda item 14, as added this evening to new business, is Councillor Bondi speaking to Clark Street.
Which is now called, would you like to say, Councilor Bondi, Lower Concord? is what I was told Thursday morning. Yes. So, Councillor Bondi.
Sure, I'll take thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really don't, I think everybody knows my position, so I'm kind of more interested in brainstorming what council and administration can come up with. Like, for example, we are here where this X is, right? We are here where the X is. We got to get to Y. So how can we do that faster than August 15th? Perhaps our CAO could update us on what she's been working on. Right before this council meeting, I did receive a call from Ken. He did say that he is willing to give the town $20,000, $20,000, but just not the developer. I think there's some animosity and some trust issues. So I don't know if there's a three-way agreement we can work out. I don't know, but they are a business in Harrow, and it's kind of out of the box to begin with, because we did give money to the developer to build the road. And so, you know, how are you going to test the coffee cup if it's spill-proof unless you put a liquid in it? So how are you going to test the road that it's going to work and hold up unless you have vehicles on it? So I'm not sure what we can do, but I really feel like, you know, council members, most of them have gone out there. If not, they've talked to them on the phone. So I think council has a solid understanding of the frustrations that this business is going through. I know Chris and his departments have their legal and liability issues. So I don't know if there's a solution, but we need to have an open and transparent conversation about possible solutions.
Okay, I think what we need to do, first of all, it would be talk to administration, the legal department. Are we able to do this? You know, and first of all, we'd have to have the party say, I'll give you the $20,000. I want to hear it come from him, because they flip-flop a couple times with discussions we've had with these people. So we should hear from, you know, our legal, whether we'd even be able to do this or not.
Just quickly, Your Worship, I don't have a quick answer. I would need to look at that in the question of, you know, whether it would, this money would be in a trust account, you know, interest-bearing, non-interest. I don't have that answer. I would need to look into that.
Okay, but I'm sure he would, Councillor Bondi, first thing in the morning, contact those people and just discuss it. Councillor Vokes.
Thank you, Worship. I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse. I don't want to put administration on the spot for something they said or didn't say, but I want to get this resolved ASAP. I really would like to have a separate independent meeting, as we would with an emergency meeting, to deal with this, where we can really focus on it, where we go into the back room at the town hall and we really look at it, instead of trying to put it through here tonight, where some of the questions can't be answered, where some of the deliberations can't be had, and really be fair to it. I don't think it's going to get the attention it's deserving of here tonight, especially with what we have on the heels of this meeting tonight. But I understand Councillors Bondi and my position too on getting it an understanding of how and when they can use that road. So if council had a willingness to meet somewhere before the end of the week on it, like at 4 o'clock, and spend time during those deliberations doing it. That would be my preference. I hope council would support that instead of hashing through it here right now, because I guarantee you, by the time we get out of here tonight, there's going to be 2 or 3 directions to administration that they could just have ready.
Councillor Vokes, I think the only one we need to do is give direction to the clerk to make the phone call to make sure that this $20,000 is there and we can take it. The road will be open by noon.
Can we do that? Well, let's do that.
No?
Perfect.
Do it. That's what I'm thinking.
No, I heard
That'd
it.
be nice.
I heard it. I'll give you the 20 grand right now.
Who
He
am
can
I?
pay me back.
Who am I?
Your Worship, all we need
Yes,
is $20.
sir.
That's okay.
Yeah. Mr. Nepsey.
My concern with that, just quickly, right off the cuff, as the clerk noted, it'd be something we have to investigate, but it's not a matter of taking the money. The issue is always going to be of what damage caused what and whose responsibility was it at the end of the day. So I might have 20 grand in a pot, But the argument comes at the end of the year when I say there's damage on the road, potentially, and then Loris says, well, that was Selleck, so I'm going to keep their money. And Selleck says, oh, no, that was Loris's construction fault, not mine. So it's not as easy as getting 20 grand and putting it in a holding. But one thing, I guess, which something we can talk to Selleck's about tomorrow, through your worship, is if they're willing to put up $20,000, which is new news for all of us here, I'm not sure why they wouldn't. They're looking to enclose that culvert in front of their building. They've been talking to us about getting a permit to enclose the ditch in front of their office on Roseboro. So if they're willing to do that and expedite that, I'm not sure once you close that culvert, you just temporarily open your driveway entrance up on Roseboro and spend the money that way to allow for access off Roseboro. They're looking to enclose that ditch anyways. I don't know. It sounds pretty easy to me. But, I mean, I have a whole plethora of opinion on assuming the road early. We can talk about that whenever you choose. But, you know, the key thing is not just the road. It's the water, it's the sanitary, it's the storm sewer, it's Fournier storm sanitary sewers. It's all that stuff that's incorporated into that construction. And we just had an issue last week on Erie Road construction, which was built last August, still in my one-year maintenance. Storm sewer repair has to be done. If we had assumed the road, I'd be doing it. The contractor has to come out from last summer and fix that. Same thing with the water main on Lower Concourt. A couple months ago, one of the water lines was leaking. They had to come out and fix it. So those are the things that we can discuss when the time is right.
That's why I think administration keeps reminding us, let us do our jobs. Let us do our jobs. Like I just opened my mouth, boy, this is as simple as it could be, I think. But I just think, see, I don't know what I'm talking about, like you put me in my place. And that's all of us over here that put our nose into something we really don't know about. We should be letting you work with these people, and Mr. O'Shea, and possibly Tracy, Donna, you know. So anyways, what I said, forget what I thought would happen or hoped would happen. So where are we going? Council. Next, Councilor Caxero and then Deputy Mayor Malash.
Through your worship, to Mr. Nepsey, if there was the willingness to put up $20,000, is that a sufficient amount of money?
Point of order, if I could. My
Yep.
point of order is I asked council if we had a willingness to put this on the table for tonight and then meet at a later date with it. And what I see here is it progressing into a meeting. So if we're not going to do that, then just tell me that. And if we're going to discuss it now, then tell me that. But my preference would be, in terms of respectfully to administration and all those involved, and even the proponents who are trying, they could attend and see what the discussions are.
Okay. With Councilor Vokes' point, can I ask all in favor of, is that what you're looking for, support of that?
Do it at a later time with more.
He wants to say just a little bit.
But
I
if
think
you're going to say a little bit turns into a lot, and
Well,
then
that's right.
directions go to administration.
I have Mrs. Pilon Apps, our CEO, wants to make comment.
Just to respond to a few statements that council's made so far, just a reminder that it's between two other parties, the hold of opening up Lower Concord. Administration's position is to wait. August 15th will be here very soon, and I'd rather administration focus their attention on preparing for August 15th as proposed to working on these additional meetings and additional reports to council. I don't recommend any side meetings. Excuse me. It's not a transparent way of doing business. It doesn't qualify under the Municipal Act for in-camera meetings. And like the mayor mentioned, administration has been dialoguing with both parties constantly, trying to move them forward to work together. And you're right, there's no quick answer, and we want to make sure council has all the facts before you make a decision. So I believe your options are is if you want council consider information, then advise administration if you want us to come back with a report, and we will do that. It is council's decision, but I would really make sure that you have all of that information before you. Or let us continue on the path that we are on working with the two other parties. And this is new news that if one party is willing to post the $20,000 security, let administration work out those details, and then we would have to come back with an agreement that needs to be ratified.
For that, I have Councillor Cachero, Deputy Mayor Malash, and then Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, to Mr. Nepsey, the $20,000 that is said to be willing to be put up for security by the Selex, but I believe it's to the town. So that would be in a situation where the town would assume the road and they would put up a $20,000 security based on whether or not something happened to the road. I believe that's their intention. My question is do you feel that that's enough of a security if we were to assume the road? Why or why not? That's the first question. I'll allow him to answer that question.
Mr. Nepsey?
Through your worship, Councillor Caxera, I don't think that's what their money was for, because ultimately, I think their money was, if we assume the damage came from, it's going to be, who's the damage as a result of? They're not going to pay for any damage or any issue on that road. They're going to pay for what they feel is something that they caused. And then who's going to interpret that, and who's going to assign blame and whatnot? You know, am I splitting hairs on, did the asphalt deteriorate or the curb crack because of Selex use or because of poor construction? I don't know, you know, and that will be a sticking bet. I mean, we all know that's going to be an issue, potentially. As far as the value of $20,000 as a maintenance amount, I'd have to take a look at the contract again. I mean, there's set prescribed values for those types of things. We already have maintenance money on the road. I already have Loris's securities for Lower Concourt. The whole point is, if we assume the road, he would get all those back. So we'd be holding an additional amount of now Selex and not Loris. It's not as clear-cut as that. So with the contractor that was utilized and the condition of the road as it's in, which is fine right now, based on past practice and the history of issues we've had on any construction, 20,000 would cover most things that we've come across, absolutely. But I'll put a qualifier on that it may not cover potentially something that happens there. But
further to that, I guess the question is, and what I'm trying to wrap my head around, and I don't know that we have any examples, past examples. We don't open up industrial parks every other year here. It might be the only one since you've been here that's been opened up. But I guess I struggle with the fact, and it was kind of alluded to earlier, struggle with the fact that there's a one-year maintenance put on the road, but if the road isn't being used, is that putting the road to the test that it should be put to? That'd be the first question. The second question would be, and I guess going forward, it was a unique situation. I know the town funded the building of that road for this industrial park. I don't know why it wasn't written into the agreement that the road would be open during the maintenance period if it was us that paid for it. That part, it eludes me. I guess going forward, maybe to be cautious, because this is the kind of thing, because if we had put that in the agreement, he wouldn't have a choice but to allow us to use the road during the maintenance period. He might not have liked it, but I mean, I think that would have been a fair compromise in hindsight. Obviously, it's in hindsight.
Mr. Nepsey.
through your worship, your second question can be answered with your first comment, I believe, as far as, you know, this is the first time we've done this. and in hindsight's great. I think moving forward, if we assisted with, you know, the construction of another road, we may do things differently, right? We learn as we go. As far as the road not being utilized and still under maintenance, I see your point, absolutely. I see the point as far as, you know, we're going to get some heavy trucks on there. I mean, heavy trucks were on there during construction of the road and whatnot, other than the final, even with the final lift of asphalt, you've got all kinds of heavy equipment on there. So, you know, the failures, the types of things are more from settling and, you know, curbs cracking, which definitely can be augmented by use, but more than likely would transpire regardless of vehicles on there or not. So, you know, storm sewer settling, sanitary pipes, curbs, sidewalks, those types of things. So,
Councillor? Okay. I have Deputy Mayor Malash, Councillor Snively, Councillor Bundy, and Councillor Fox. Oh, okay. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Mr. Nepsey, did you have something else that you wanted to add to this comment?
just one more thing, Your Worship. Following the last, not the last meeting or the last meeting before the last meeting, I did poll the rest of the county, and every response I got back was no way we would take a road less than a year. So I didn't get 100% response, but every response I got back was no, we stick to our one-year maintenance as far as assuming these types of projects.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. Councillor Caxero asked a lot of the questions that I would have asked, but just for some clarification. So on your last point here, Mr. Nepsey, in asking the other municipalities, did you actually say that the road wasn't being used, or because if, to Councillor Caxero's point, if the road's not being used, it's not being tested anyway. I know that you can have sink spots. I'd really like to know, I've been on council now for 13 years. We've never had new construction road where all of a sudden it just fell apart without being used. Most roads don't fall apart at all, but I just think that we're putting a huge company within our corporation of the town of Essex at a very big disadvantage right now. You had mentioned about covering the ditch with a culvert so that they could build their own driveway, and that sounded like the simplest solution. But in their minds, the simplest solution is just get the road open, from their perspective, because then they don't have to do anything, and they don't have to put in an extra driveway that they didn't want to put in the first place. So for them, they'd rather put up $20,000 that they're going to get back because nothing's going to happen to the road. Then they still have their $20,000. So I understand why they want that road open. They don't want to have to incur an expense that they shouldn't have to incur. Even if they were to put that driveway through, I had a conversation with a couple of these gentlemen as well, and they still have intentions of coming in off of the new road at some point in time when it's opened. Even if they went ahead and put a temporary driveway in to get to where to do what they need to do. But they have heavy equipment that needs to come in. I think it would be a good test on the road to see whether or not it's going to stand up. And even if it doesn't, I mean, from now, we're beginning of May, and if we're going to get it in August, it's 2.5 months from now. Just the road sitting there on its own without anybody, I think that without anybody using it, I think the chances of the curbs cracking or the road sinking are just like so minimal that I can't see holding Selleck's ransom to not be able to use this road because of that. So that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Bondi and Councillor, Mr. Nepsey first.
Through your worship, I think I'm not saying the road's going to catastrophically collapse, right? You're right, Councillor Malash, that we don't have that. You know, we have reputable contractors that do their job. As far as we do deal with a lot of maintenance issues that you guys don't see at all. We don't come talk to you about this stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there that ends up being that quality product that the town of Essex wants, as far as, you know, curbs cracking, as far as sidewalks failing, as far as eroding landscaping, seed not taking, all those types of things are more than likely the issues we're going to deal with, not the road failing, not the road falling apart. The bigger issue is the minute we assume the road, Loris gets his money back. The developer gets his money back. Moving forward, anybody that comes to the town to develop will be in here. If I can get my money 6 months earlier and give up the responsibility of this road and all the little maintenance things that may or may not happen, they're going to be in here. The developers of the subdivisions, you know, they'll be in here looking for that. That's really my bigger concern. Again, the contractor utilized was reputable. Do I see the road catastrophically failing? No. Are there going to be minor housekeeping type things that need to be cleaned up that are an ultimate huge pain in the royal, you know what, to do after if I don't have any money back from these developers and these contractors? Absolutely. Then they don't get done. Then they get put on the burden of the taxpayer to clean up that stuff, to replace those panels. Those are the issues that we deal with. Storm sewer type connections. The one on Erie, the storm sewer wasn't connected. Somehow it got missed. Is it a lot of money? No. But is it a couple grand to hydro excavate, dig it up, connect it, put it back? Yes. You know, so again, nothing major, nothing, but definitely issues. On every project, we have issues in that maintenance period. I'll say that for sure. Major, no. Minor in nature, but those are my concern setting. You know, the precedent setting as far as taking ownership of these developments early is it's a very serious precedent that you guys are looking at setting, and I don't think that council is looking at it. I understand the struggle you're facing with both, you know, you've got two taxpayers that you're trying to represent. Absolutely. I'm looking at representing ultimately, you know, what you've hired me to do, and that's, you know, what I feel is best for the entire town, not just today, but moving forward. And I think it's a bigger issue than you're making it out to be. Not that you're slighting it, but I think you really have to think about those consequences. Now, ultimately, you can say, okay, the next developer is going to come in, and I'm going to tell him, no, not for you. That's fine, but I've said, you know, anyways, I just, my comments.
Yeah, that's it? Okay, come to the votes. Beg pardon? Well, I've got him stroked off. I had Councillor Cacciaro, Deputy Mayor Melange, and then Councillor Snively said, oh, I don't want to. And then Councillor Bondi's next, who says, let Councillor Vokes go next, who's next, but I can put Councillor Cacciaro down here again. Okay, thank you very much. Oh.
I can't believe we're sitting here. I wish I could watch this later because we're sitting here trying, huh? Thursday night. I know. I can't wait to watch it because we're sitting here collectively as administration and council asking questions about opening or closing a road or whether you can or can't use it, what damage won't be done. And my question would be is in terms of engineering design, what's the classification of the road? Because without knowing the classification, how are any of you making any decisions? I don't know how you're making that decision. So I need to know the engineering design of the road. What class is it? Do we know?
Through your
Because
worship.
if I could, a Class B road allows for 8,200 pounds per axle. Anything over 2.4 meters, then that number changes, right? So I don't know how we're making a decision here on opening or closing a road when you don't even know what the engineering design of the road class is.
Yeah, through your worship, it's a local collector through our development guidelines. I'd have to get you the specs on it.
Yeah,
I don't have
how
the.
do you decide that, people? You're going to say yay, and meanwhile, there could be so much, if the road classification allows for the permitted use of that, determines the damage that'll be done. That's what determines. And if it's Class B, that's 82,000 kg per axle. if it is Class B, you can go a half-load limitation and get his material in. But we're sitting here deciding on something that I don't even know how you're deciding on it.
Me, I don't think we're deciding right now. We're going to learn this in the report.
Right?
I would hope so.
But I don't even know how you ask questions on it if you don't know what the classification of the road is. Okay. All right. But my
That's
point
coming.
is, people, this is until you know that, this is all redundant conversation.
Okay, we have a motion coming from Councillor Bondi, so I'll go to, oh, you don't, okay. Councillor Bondi, okay.
Thank you. I would
That
like,
you did.
I'd like to, okay, so this is a time of political will versus administration's opinion. We had the moratorium on flooding in Essex Center that administration said don't do, and yet council did it. The moratorium on flooding in Ward 1. Council, planning department said don't do it, and administration said don't do it, but the political will overruled administration's opinion. Not saying I don't respect you, just saying that sometimes political will comes into play. I am suggesting, I think we could do this without assuming the road. I'm not suggesting that we could assume the road. Okay, so Celix has agreed to give $20,000. There's $20,000. They've agreed to give it to the town. They don't want to work with the developer for their reasons. That's their reasons. The town has the $20,000. The town gives the $20,000, it's a three-way agreement. The town gives the $20,000 to the developer as a retainer, what he wants. When we take over the road, August 15th or whenever that is, if there is damage, it comes out of that $20,000 and we don't get it all back. So, and then Celix doesn't get it all back. It's a three-way agreement. I'm not sure if it could work, but I'm saying that just like in the library strike, two parties go sit in a room and figure it out. Like, this is a top priority. This needs to be a top priority in our administrative staff because the political will is there. The political will is there. We're seeing evidence of the political will tonight. Information has surfaced tonight about the deposit. We gave $350,000 to the road in the purpose of Celix using it. Like this is business attention and retraction and expansion, but we're saying, okay, yeah, we'll give you the money, but we're not gonna help you execute the entire deal. And that's unfair. That's unfair to Celix because we had an agreement that was faulty right from the beginning, and that's our own fault. Yeah, we haven't done industrial development parks, but I know going forward we won't make this mistake, but Celix right now is paying for this mistake. And I will go down, kicking and screaming and fighting for them because it's affecting production in Harrow, and it's affecting a lot of things. It's affecting our reputation. And, Moyer Crane, maybe they're gone now. It's affecting our reputation in terms of how we go out there and get business. I'm not saying that a report even needs to come. My suggestion is that administration knows there's political will there now. There's political will for administration to do everything they can to find a way to open the road. If administration comes back, and maybe we do need a report, if administration comes back and says that it is absolutely, we can't do it, then we absolutely can't do it. But this is an anomaly. This is not a subdivision. We are paying for the road. The road isn't getting used. There are so many factors here. I just would like administration to make this an absolute priority, to sit with the Celix, to sit with the engineers, and to look at the road and see how we can assume it earlier. If we're not part of the solution, then we're going to be part of the problem. And I don't want to take responsibility for that. And I feel like the risk is very minimal. It's a road, and I don't know if we can do a three-way agreement, but if we can we at least look at the option?
Thank you. Councillor Canxero.
Through your worship, I was kind of going to suggest something similar, and I can understand that Mr. Nepsey has some reservations because the problem is determining what it is. Certainly as far as a storm sewer or sanitary sewer not being hooked up, grass needing to be replanted, I don't think there's any question as to what that would be. That would be the responsibility of the developer. It's going to be the road. So if the developer were to agree to allow Celix traffic on the road before we assumed it, and something happens to the road, the developer will point towards Celix equipment doing the damage to the road. Sellex will say, oh, the road was probably deficient. And then we're going to be left in the middle of that. And that's going to be the problem. So I certainly I can appreciate, and maybe this would be the way to see if something could be done. I don't know how much is being held back from Loris at this point. Whatever that amount is, if the Sellex are willing to put up $20,000 to the town, certainly I would suggest that we could then relieve Loris of $20,000, but he would still assume the road until the maintenance term was done. There would have to be some sort of an agreement that if it was road damage, that the Sellex would have to eat it, but anything other than that, Loris would have to eat it. And I guess it'd be at the determination of the town as the neutral party. But I know Chris probably doesn't want to have anything to do with that. I don't know. That's the only thing I can see maybe coming of this. I fully understand the issue with assuming it early, but I also fully understand the issue of Sellex wanting access to that road. Apparently, some of the equipment they're going to start moving over from their current operation, it won't. They can't go through where they've opened up the road off of Roseboro, so they say. So that being said, they need the access to that road. We're definitely in a tough situation here. We're caught in the middle. I want to certainly help Sellex as much as we can. I also don't want to put the town in any situation where we're going to have to absorb some cost at the taxpayer's expense. So I don't know. Kind of along the same lines as Sherry, it might be worthwhile trying to get Loris and Sellex together with admin and see if they can work out something where, you know, Sellex are willing to put forth some money as a security, but not to Loris, and we don't want to assume the road ahead of time. So I don't know if there's a way of working that out.
Okay, I've jotted down a couple of things. I know we've heard tonight that Selleck has said, we'll give you 20,000. There's nothing official. I'm not doubting they told you that. We need something in writing. Neither one of these parties trusts the other guy. Here we are, a nice little town of municipality of Harrow. What, 3,000 people? And we got two business people that don't trust each other. They don't care. They just worry about themselves. Okay. Go ahead. Your point of order being?
I don't like making accusations or assumptions of the media.
Okay, now, to your point of order, I'm not accepting it. I am doing nothing wrong. Okay, no, not stop. Like, that was it. Your point of order was, no, you cannot continue. You made a point of order. I hear what your point of order is. I either accept it or I don't. Doesn't matter who's talking. I'm not doing anything wrong. I've dealt with these people myself. Flip-flop, and I'll say flip-flop. Now, why are we going to, well, some of you don't want to invest any of our tax dollars, which is right. If he wanted that road open so bad, why wouldn't he put that money up? You've heard our CAO say this is between two companies, two parties in a nice little town. I won't say anything bad about him anymore. Two parties in a nice little 3,000 population town that can agree to do something. Why do we have to be in the middle? Just like Councilor Caxero said, we're in the middle. We're not in the middle. It's between two business people trying to do something. Why do we get dragged in? Because they want to drag us in. Because of things I've said previously. Like, man, get the report. Councilor Bondi's probably right that they'll put this money up if we are able to. Let's get on with it and open that road up as fast as we can, but not at the expense of the taxpayer. Okay, that's my 2 cents worth, so here we go. Where are we going? No more discussion about this stuff. We've all tried to get as many votes as we could out of this process, so let's go. You've heard the recommendation. Are we going to support this, or? Yeah, but, okay, comment. Okay.
I would just like to add, if Selleck would be willing, they're going to put up the $20,000. Would they be willing, if there is any damage on the road, that they would be willing to take care of it? You know what? They want the road open, and I'm sure they would go along with that. What damage is going to be done anyways? But if we do get the road open, would they be willing, if administration meets with them tomorrow, would they be willing to repair it?
They would have to, because we've got the $20,000 if they put it up, no?
Let's say it's a little bit more.
Councilor Vogt?
Thank you, Worship, for letting me speak, and I want to prolong it, but again, to Councillor Snively's point about road damage, I can't stress enough, and I know Chris knows what I'm talking about. Depending on the classification of road, all they got to do is go half loads. There won't be no damage.
They're moving equipment, Councilor.
But instead of putting two pieces of equipment on, put one.
Counselor, you don't know.
Okay, hey.
I'm aware how heavy that is.
No, you're not.
Oh, don't, Larry, I am.
Hey, please. I don't want to call a recess because it's getting late.
Okay, I'm interested to know.
But you're going back and
No, I
forth,
don't.
you guys.
Through you, through
Okay.
the chair. I'm very interested to know how heavy the equipment is.
I don't know, but we'll find that
Oh,
out.
he says he knows, so I'm interested.
We'll find that out.
Oh, okay.
We will find that out.
Keep it moving.
Councilor Bondi has a recommendation.
I don't even
Yeah.
feel it needs to really be a motion. I feel administration is aware of the political will here to, if possible, approve in principle, looking at, not even assuming the road, just contact the Selects and then see what you can do and let us know.
We're all in favor of that? Okay. Anyone opposed? No one's
I don't think
opposed.
it's even a motion.
No, it's just direction.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
So I'm staring at it.
Okay. Item
Hey,
16.
Mayor, can you stop that, please? Can you please stop that type of rhetoric as a mayor?
We just did.
Like, you know,
It's done.
like, I can't believe I intimidate people that much.
Counselor, don't get us involved. Don't get us into
Yeah,
it. Shh, shh, shh,
yeah,
shh.
thank
Please,
you.
please. Okay, Rob?
Item 16, reports from council members. Once again, as this is a new agenda item, this is a 5-minute opportunity for councilors to make reports, but on a non-debatable, non-actionable basis.
Okay, where would you like to start? Counselor Bondi?
I have nothing.
Nothing. Counselor Vogt?
In terms of what I've been doing since, just in terms of the financial aspect of the show, we've received lots of support from many local businesses, so I think council's time for that issue.
Okay. Counselor Cactero? Counselor Snively?
Through your worship, I'm working on a couple of developments in Harrow, residential. I can't give names, okay, but they're condos. They're going to be like Eagle's Nest over here on Arner. So hopefully everything goes smooth with that. I'm working with Jeff Watson on that. And the other one is Moyer Ferris. I'm asking administration to get a hold of them immediately tomorrow and see what the problem is. Because I got a call today.
If I may stop you, sir, this 5-minute report isn't giving any direction or anything. You can talk to administration after the meeting.
Okay.
Like, this is just a report on things.
That's
so-
fine.
Okay, so make sure you don't forget that, Larry, to talk to administration. Thanks. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just want to send a thanks to I'm not sure who gets it, but the Police Services Board or administration, but the residents of Pockets Corners on County Road 8 were very excited because they've had several radar set up for watching speeders down their section of the road. And I have actually seen it myself going a little bit over the speed limit down that section, coming up to the corner, and somebody just like, vroom, passes by me. Must have been doing double the speed limit coming up because they want to beat the traffic light there at Walker and County Road 8. Just ridiculous, some of the speed that people go down there. But they just wanted I had a couple residents that called me and said, thank you for, pass the thank yous along to whoever should deserve those, because there's been some radar set up down there. So pass that along to the chair of the Police Services Board to pass along. Thanks. Nope, this is actually radar was set up with the police cars, but they had the radar sign set up on Walker Road at Buckets Corners as well. Yeah.
Okay, good. And I have nothing to report on, so thank you very much for that.
Item 17, any announcements this evening?
Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder that it's our annual spring cleanup this Saturday at the various locations. I believe the Harrow Arena is for Harrow. Colchester is at the beach, at the splash pad. McGregor Center is at the community center, and Essex Center is at the train station. And another announcement is Sellex is aware that the road can take half loads. They just texted me.
Go, Councillor Wilkes. There you go. Anyone else? Announcements? No? Okay, thank you very much.
18.1 on the agenda, bylaws for third and final reading. Bylaw 1601 being the confirming bylaw from the April 18th regular council meeting.
Councillor Bondi, Councillor Wilkes, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
18.2.1, bylaw 1606 being a bylaw to regulate, license, and control animals within the municipal boundaries of the town of Essex for 3 readings this evening.
Moved by Councillor Bondi, and Councillor Caxero. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Sorry. 18.3, bylaws for first and second reading. 18.3.1, bylaw 1605 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a lease agreement between the town and the Harrow Health Center Incorporated for office space at the McGregor Community Center.
Moved by Councillor Caxero, supported by Councillor Vokes. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carried.
18.3.2, bylaw 1607 being the confirming bylaw for tonight's May 1st regular council meeting.
Deputy Mayor Malash and Councillor Caxero. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
And Your Worship, just before we adjourn, I just wanted to point to item 20, future meetings. Under 20.1, there's a closed council meeting scheduled for May 2nd. That meeting was rescheduled yesterday and posted to the public calendar. It'll be held tonight immediately following this regular council meeting.
So I will call a 5-minute recess, need be, and then we will reconvene. And that's in case the press wants to talk to anyone outside in the hallway. And
Let's adjourn this meeting and then we'll go.
adjourn this one? Okay. Okay, we're going to adjourn this meeting. Councillor Caxero and Deputy Mayor Malash. All in favor? Motion carried.